There are people who are problems today in life because they are always right.
Right, okay.
I was talking to someone this other day saying, when they say history repeats itself, check yourself the part that you played in the previous episode of the history.
You have played it again.
You've played it again and it's giving negative results. You have to change.
Yeah.
At times we enforce things on them.
Unozoti mwana wako kana ukasvika uchikoro enda kuna principal unoti good morning madam. Zvamaitwa inini kumuta good morning principal otoshati ko mwana uyu zviri kubvepi good morning madam ndazva madam pakudi maybe madam it's a different way inotoa imwe context.
Like
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our program, and this is part 2 of our topic where we are looking at grooming etiquette or manners development for boys. Pastor, welcome again to our second part of this episode. Last week we looked at the basic hygiene, where we looked at things like hair care, we looked at clothing sense, we looked at shoe etiquette, and we also looked at the manners and etiquette, where we looked at greetings and eye contact. We looked at the words please and thank you, and we also looked at respecting personal space. On the basic hygiene, we didn't touch the issue of personal grooming, like the sexual organs and probably pubic hair. What can you say about those ones? Before we get into the ones for today.
Thank you so much for welcoming me on this platform.
Yes.
And thank you to the viewers and listeners for joining us today. Yeah, on that part of the pubic hairs and taking care of our organs as men, our kids, our boys need to be groomed on that. Because they need to know that the organs that they have, if not well taken care of, they will produce smells. Like when a boy is growing up and he's starting to have wet dreams, if he's not taught how to clean the organ, like opening the foreskin and cleaning it properly, that semen that comes out at night will start smelling. And when they go to the toilet, maybe to do number one, the drops of urine that will be left, they will carry that dirt
smell,
and it will make a very dangerous smell combined with the smell of urine. So at the end of the day, they will not be comfortable playing with others. Others will just tell them, you stink, you smell, you do this. So they need to know that when you are bathing, the first thing that you have to do is to open your organ, clean it first, clean the organ thoroughly and the skin. That is, if they are dead, they didn't have the skin cut. Clean it thoroughly and make sure that you are smart. Then the other part is to make sure that you clean in between the legs. We sweat a lot when you walk, so there is sweat that accumulates there, and unataka kuita some layers of dirt. If not cleaned, you start smelling. So if you take someone and you give him a white paint, in the edges of a paint, can I read those elastic pants, you will start seeing black residues. It's a sign that the person is not cleaning properly in between the legs. So they need to make sure that they wash that part clearly, thoroughly, and remove any dirt that may be there until you feel that I'm fresh. Then, still on the organ, there are others who talk of circumcision. In the Bible is there, but it has its disadvantages and its advantages. It has to be a personal decision.
Circumcision has to be personal.
It must be personal.
All right.
But you have to look at the advantages of it and the disadvantages of it. Then see what you are able to stay with. Like for some, they say the disadvantage is if one is circumcised. Later in life, when you are married, you might find it difficult to be satisfied sexually because the sensitivity would have been affected. That's what they say.
All right.
And there are other researches which were made which have proved that, but
is that not a solution for premature ejaculation?
Yes, for some they say it's actually a solution. In others actually say there is also a research that was done which shows that it reduces, not that it clears away, it reduces the transmission of STIs. Some of the STIs.
I remember in Zimbabwe we always had that campaign where ngena smart everything and
but there are also the cons of it. So it's important that some of these things, if you want, before you do them, research on them. And some parents just take their kids when they are still young and have it done for them. But the problem is when they are growing up, they may start regretting, what you have done on their behalf. So it must be like a personal decision that one will make. Then there is also the issue of the pubic hair. It's funny enough, it's also a personal decision to shave it or not. But you have to look at the pros and cons of having it. It has more disadvantages to have that pubic hair grow without being trimmed, because a lot of dirt will start accumulating on it.
But when it comes to trimming it, don't you think there is probably a time? Because maybe when someone is just entering into the puberty, it won't be growing that much. But if they start shaving it, it will multiply.
We call there's a name we used to give it. The hairs, they'll be reddish. They are not so thick. They are soft, so they are easy to clean. So mostly those ones, they don't grow long.
And they do it
so that one is not a problem. But there will come a time when the real stuff starts growing. They need to take care of that. It's just the same with the beard.
All right.
It's the same with the beard. There is that which starts appearing, where you'll be knowing it and you'll be monitoring it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. We used to do that.
You don't need to cut that.
But the moment the real stuff starts coming, you find yourself in the barber shop trying to make sure. So it's also a personal choice on the type of trim that you put on it, how you are able to maintain it yourself.
All right.
Cleaning it and managing it. So it applies also to the armpit hairs. There is also need for you to make sure that you make a right decision on how to manage it. If you don't manage, there's smells that will come from those areas. They will give you a bad odor which you will never like.
All right.
So our kids need to know that, and as boys, us as fathers, we need to talk about these things with them. Let's give them the options. Let's not leave it to the internet, but let's be bold enough to sit down, talk about it. And they may be shy at first, but the more we talk about it, they will be open even in the future to tell me more about other experiences.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was just a catch-up of something that we felt like we left out last week. Now we want to come to today's topics. We are still on the grooming etiquette or manners development for boys. Now we are going to the part 3 of the groups of our topic, the social skills development. The first one that I want on social skills and development is the starting and maintaining a conversation. Our kids, when you're growing up, when you greet someone, you say, "How are you?" They would say, "Fine, thanks," and you. But here they would just say, "I'm good," and they're done. How are you? Good. So sometimes you feel this is very awkward. But especially now, are we raising boys that can start and maintain a conversation, especially level in a stage? Are they going to be patient enough kumsikana nombotanga achiti no? Kana kuti akatoti no kwavari zvatopera. isitaidirwa mvura ine makoko kunzi ndakati handisi kuda nezvako but unozodzoka futi next week uchishingirira uchidi how can we instill that in our boys kuti you start a conversation, you maintain a conversation? How can we do that?
Yeah, it comes also to the other part we spoke about last week of personal space. It's one other thing that is affecting our boys. As they are being
now if you say no means no, I'm trying to respect
my personal space. So it's one other thing that we need to train them to be intelligent emotionally.
Kuona kuti
it's
but iko vachikwera vasikana vanoti no kana achida mazuvano just kana vacho
they actually start you. But the idea is, like you said, our kids need to learn to maintain conversation because it gives them the ability to learn to listen. Because the more we talk, having conversations with them, we are teaching them something indirectly. Like when I'm talking to my son and he's listening as I talk, when he's talking back and I'm listening, I'm teaching him that you can be quiet while someone is talking, and you can also hear the ideas of someone. Because these elements, if we don't groom our kids in them, we will build kids that are dangerous in the society, who cannot hear others, because they don't know conversations. They only know, I want this.
That's it.
Dad, I need this. That's what they know. So they don't know that someone can talk to me, have a conversation with me, and I'll listen. Especially if he's not my friend. Like my boss, when they get to work, some of them will struggle to have conversations at work. So it's important that we start by grooming them and teaching them to say, if someone says to you, how are you? I'm fine, thanks, and how are you? You are opening up and training them to use open-ended conversations where they can just be able to ask questions as well if they want to know something. And from the parent's perspective, the other way we can groom them to be able to maintain conversations is for us to learn to appreciate their questions. Our kids these days, they ask why. And looking at us as old school parents, we usually say, you don't ask me why. The moment we do that, we have cut a conversation. We are not training them to maintain
a conversation.
So we also have a part to play to help them.
So now when it comes to you have brought up something. We never used to question our parents why. So does that not make our kids today better at handling conversations because they are given a leeway to continue even with the parent, even with the teachers? Don't you think they can be better conversation starters and continuous?
It's supposed to be that way. But funny enough, personally, I've interacted with different communities, Indians and some other different ethnic groups. Most of the kids that are affected are our African kids, in particular Zimbabweans, because the parents at home, they have a slogan, you don't ask me why.
All right.
But if you meet a white kid or other kids from other communities, they have conversations. When they ask their parents can actually go to the extent of investing in a research to answer the child. As they are doing that, they are building conversations with the children. Right. So with us, we have kind of affected the confidence of our kids by shutting them with, you don't ask me why. We somehow we have, it used to work on us.
But it doesn't work.
It doesn't work with them. We have to, for us to train them to be able to maintain conversations, let's sacrifice that part of us to embrace the other part of them.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how about handling emotions? How can we teach our kids to handle emotions? I mean, can we still raise emotionally strong boys? But on also handling emotions, we need a balance. Remember, We always talk about how we grew up which is also affecting us today. That's why probably most men of our generation, they are committing suicide because we don't express emotions. So here I'm not talking about bottling emotions, but I'm talking about handling them. If you have emotional about something, you say it out respectfully. If you need to cry, you cry respectfully. Also change some cards. How do we teach our boys to handle emotions?
It's one thing that I have seen to be affecting my African kids, Mono Australia. They easily break.
Yeah.
But some of it's coming from the fact that we did not nurture the emotions. So because we did not nurture the emotions in them, when they happen, these guys, they don't know how to handle them. So if I have my son at home and there is an emotion of sadness, right? I have to find a way to nurture the emotion of sadness, to know that there are times when we are sad in life, and it's okay
to be sad.
Yeah. It doesn't make you inferior. It does. But how do you handle
the emotion of
sadness? So the emotion of like feeling rejected. We are raising our kids without the word no in our environment. We don't say no. And the side effects of failing to build them to manage their emotions, we are actually building what are called narcissists. Those narcissistic tendencies, because people with narcissistic behaviors, they have a certain way they view themselves. Everything is about themselves.
Yeah,
it's all
self-centered.
It's all about because they were raised that way. And research has it that no one is born a narcissist.
They are raised.
So a lot of parents are busy raising narcissists, and you raise your narcissist boy today or your narcissist girl. When she marries someone's child, the person will be crying, this guy is a narcissist, but they were raised in someone's house. So as parents, we also need to have times when we can say no to your child, and they have to take that no and manage it well.
Okay.
Without throwing tantrums and breaking. So for some, if a child starts throwing tantrums and saying, they will say, okay, have it. This one. No, you are
I saw another video where a child was beating his mother. I think it circulated on social media. A Zimbabwean child. The mom was sitting down. When it gets to that level, what are we as a society? When my child can throw punches at me, are we protecting them, or are we afraid of the law? What are we afraid of? Because if you do that, for me, you are out.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, we, like the example you gave, that's a terrorist that we are raising. Imagine the person who will marry that person, or who
if you can beat your mother, who else can you respect?
You see, so there are times when the manners, the grooming of manners. I loved this topic. You know, these issues of manners. As much as we may want our kids to be free out there, they also have to have manners. Let them be free people with manners. So it's important to use words like no to make them understand, like the example that I once gave in the previous episode, that when you look at your neighbor's pot, it's not for you to admire, to take what is in that pot, but it's for you to check if he has enough so that you can assist. Our kids should know that I will not have everything that everyone has. They should understand that. They should understand that it's good for me not to have what the next person has. It's not a problem. And they have to respect that. When, like for me, what I do, when my kids want something, and like if it's a girl, if she uses the brother to say, but you did it for him, automatically I switch off. I tell them, I'm not going to do it. Why? Because it's not about
competition.
It's not about competition. We don't need to build. Competition is healthy to some extent, but we don't need to build people who are too competitive in the community. A community needs complementive people.
All right.
Not too competitive. So on that one, we really need to work hard to build our kids to manage different emotions.
Right.
It's also good for a child to cry. And they have to learn how to pick themselves up from that cry. I must
zvinozobuda kuona 10-year-old achichema achiumburuka pasi achi.
And at a time, it's because we would have failed to raise them at a tender age to manage those things. Like there is an example that I once gave when it comes to the maturity of kids. So we are saying this child is 10 years. Did we raise an emotionally 10-year-old child?
Okay.
Emotionally. Physically, yes, we have raised one.
But emotionally,
are they 10? How do 10-year-olds hold conversations? At my house, I've got a policy that there is a certain tone that I don't hear. If you use that tone, if you come to me crying, I will not hear that. Sober up and come to me, Daddy, there is this.
We take it up from
there. We take it up from there. It's part of building them to handle emotions. We are putting too much gloves on our kids. We are handling them like eggs. But as much as we handle them like eggs, the next hand that we handle them is not ours.
They won't be able to see the egg in them. Yeah.
They will not be seeing the egg now. They will be crushed. The next hand is an iron hand.
Yeah.
Because look. That's exactly like, when they are being raised at school, they are told, no, you have to say out what you want and people should respect what you want. When they go to work, they are told you have to take instructions.
Yeah.
So we are building an egg, we are raising an egg and we put it in an iron hand.
Yeah.
That's why most of the kids, as we speak, they find it difficult to work. They don't want to work because the environment at work is an iron hand. They were raised with a different hand. Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. And now, how about conflict resolution? How does the way we resolve conflict among our kids help them in conflict resolution when they grow older? I have 3 here. There are times when I just say, when they bring their conflicts, I become a judge. I listen, and then I just demand you are wrong. If I am busy, this would have been later, but that's conflict resolution and no might throw away panel. How does the way we resolve conflict resolution help, especially in the future, in the way they will also resolve conflict either at work or with other people?
It's inevitable to have conflicts. So with them, if we don't manage handling the conflicts as they grow up, they will meet it at some point.
All right.
I usually give an example of assorted drinks. Like back in Africa, you'll be having a crate full of drinks. You've got Fanta, Sprite, all the different types of, including ginger. You take that, place it in an environment with people. All those drinks will be taken. That's an evidence that there is possibility of conflict around you. The fact that you want something that is bitter, I don't like it. That's a good breeding ground for conflict. So which means the fact that we are different, we are definitely going to meet conflict. So with our kids, as we are raising them, let's allow them to resolve other issues amongst themselves without us interfering. And let's also empower them with conflict resolution skills as they grow up.
And how important is it to let them understand that conflict is healthy, or to make parents understand? hazvina utano kutongona vana vakangowirirana vhiki yese uchireza vana mumba vasina kumbonetsana vachingowirirana. That is very, very dangerous. Those kids can conspire against you and kill you. Conflict is very necessary.
They just give each other a signal and they
finish you off.
I think most of the parents ignore what you have just mentioned, the healthy side of conflict. Because if I'm to stay with my wife in the same house and we agree on everything, one of us is dead.
Or is deceiving.
One of us is dead or deceiving, yes. So even with our kids, let's empower them to appreciate that one is entitled to his opinion, and I'm also entitled to my opinion, but there are times when my opinion can be put aside for us to achieve what we want to achieve. So it's very important for us as parents to embrace that fact that kids are different, and in their differences they are going to have differences, and we train them. The other skill that we need to empower them in conflict resolution is to know that in every conflict you have your role. You are not always right. There are people who are problems today in life because they are always right. I was talking to someone this other day saying, when they say history repeats itself, check yourself the part that you played in the previous episode of the history.
You have played it again.
You've played it again and it's giving negative results. You have to change. So it's better for history to repeat itself, but with you playing a different role. We will have different outcome. But at the end of the day, if we don't train them to know that I have a contribution to what's happening, no matter how small. There is an illustration that I often use where I take litter. Let's say you are in an environment with people. You take empty water bottles, you ask everyone, throw your water bottle anywhere you want to throw it. Then you ask one person to go around picking that. They will not be happy. They will take long. They will not have enough space to carry all that. But if you just say, each one of you, it will be quick. And
everyone will have space.
That's conflict resolution. So if we empower our kids with that kind of knowledge at home, to say, you know what, as much as your brother has offended you, look at your response
to that offense.
All right. How did it contribute to the way things have gone? Eventually, when we train them that way, they will be able to resolve conflicts better
amongst themselves.
Even the art of withdrawing. So there are other issues that you don't need to talk about at the peak of the discussion. There are times when you need to be silent. The soundness of your mind, there are times when the soundness of your mind is revealed by your silence.
All right. Okay. Now we need to look at situational etiquette, where we are looking at how to behave at certain environments or under certain situations. How to behave at school, that's the first one. The reason why I started mentioning school is because even schools themselves are different. My kids, the ones that are in secondary school right now, primary school they were in government, secondary they went to Catholic. Different. At government they were the most disciplined ones. In Catholic, one of them I was receiving calls almost like every week, because things that he deemed to be normal, they were unacceptable. And some of the calls for me were not making sense, because I would look at them and say, but would you really say mwana wangu aita msikanzwa hapa? Hapana msikanzwa hapa. But it's the school and the policy. How do you teach your kids situational etiquette? Makambo pa kupfeka, tunafana kupfeka according to the environment. The etiquette is school. I was not very comfortable. My kids had a lady principal. They were very young, very little. And wakaona motikari yake iri paside pedu takapaka. Tupotumdeza Linda, how are you? Shedzera Linda, as if arudedza mwana wavo. To you, wakakura nema headmaster, would do not good morning say. It wasn't very comfortable to them to just say, Linda. How do you handle all those things?
Yeah, it's also important maybe to learn the systems of the school through the kids. They are very handy.
Yeah,
because they know those things.
Yeah.
At times we enforce things on them.
Unozoti mwana wako kana ukasvika kuchikoro enda kuna principal unoti good morning madam. Zvamaitwa inini kumusa good morning. Principal otoshati ko mwana uyu zviri kubvepi good morning madam. Ndazva madam pakudi maybe madam it's a different way inotoa imwe context. Yeah.
Like with my son. Is it yesterday I went out, then when I came back he opened the gate screaming, the big guy is here.
Meaning you.
And, at first I was like, this guy, is he serious? But then I remembered, you know what? This is the language that they use.
Yeah, I remember another person 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He had his son speaking to back home in Zimbabwe. He had his son speaking to his friend, saying, my dad is the top dog at such and such a company. He got confused what it means.
Top dog.
But then he came to ask us. That's where we explained that it's not DOG, it's the DAWG, which means you are the
big guy.
So then I got to hasha kuti imbwa inini uko. So you find you could have screamed at him, who is the big guy, but you are the big guy, you are his big guy.
Big guy. So that situational etiquette is very important, and it's on case by case basis.
Okay.
It's something that we cannot put a line to say it's a straight jacket.
All right.
But it's important for us as parents to invest in knowing those things. It's advisable, like for example, using the school. It's important for you to attend some of the programs at the school.
See
how they do their things.
Yeah.
I was shocked at our kids' school that they run everything. At their assemblies, the teacher will just be there as a guide, but the assembly is run by the kids. And when we come home, we want to treat them like they know nothing. At school, they know everything. They create videos on Canva, on different applications at school, which they will broadcast in front of everyone. They come home, you don't even give them your phone to take you a photo. Because you say they know nothing. So
when it comes to that, I remember, I think if you are familiar with issues around one of musicians, P. Diddy.
Oh yeah.
So I never really thought that my youngest kid would know about that. So they were talking about baby oil, hair and the brother. The brother is the one who mentioned baby oil. I don't know what was the context. And then she said, I don't use baby oil. I'm not P. Diddy. Which means she has details of what he did. But when I look at her, I'm looking at my very innocent
young girl.
Yeah.
but she knows those things. I remember when Donald Trump won the American election, I announced it to my boys. I said, Donald Trump has won. Both of them hugged each other and they jumped. They wanted Trump to come in for their own reasons. I asked them why, but they told me, I don't know what Kamala Harris did at one point at a rally. Someone shouted Jesus, and then she said something negative about Jesus. So that's why now they wanted Donald Trump to come in. But these are people that we consider little ones, but they have their own political opinions.
Yeah.
So if you just treat them like they know nothing, these kids have opinions in everything. When it comes even to your household politics, bantu wane opinions are and everything. So yeah, I just wanted to come to that point.
And it's also very important to groom them to understand that as much as they have their own
opinions
in each situation,
that is the right opinion.
Yeah. So there are times when your opinion may be sacrificed. Don't take offense. You know, just look at it. There are times when you need to voice your opinion, but use the right channels. Do it in the right way. So it's a grooming part that us as parents, we have a big role to play, especially through taking the child's position and giving them your position in a certain space, so that you sacrifice your opinion for their opinion. Then you use that as an example to
sacrifice yoga. All right.
Did I lose being your dad? I'm still your dad.
All right. So we spoke about the situational etiquette in school. How about in public? In public, there's a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
Situational etiquette. When we are in Zim, kana tshijika ameno kwenye kumsha kwa mnopa. Susikwedu unote kuchitanga uchi wombera mahodi.
Pamsoro.
Wangu pamsoro hii, wangu wombera hodi. Wote kana wapeza futu kuchi hodi. Wombera foot. Can you teach your child that here? Most wana aenda kuma friends like otanga awombera anything. Is it okay? What kind of etiquette, what boundaries do you put for some of our cultural values? Because like you said, is it last week when we were talking about, they ask why?
Yeah.
How do I explain kuti unomberere kana uchitanga ombera futi uchipedza and all those things?
And on that note, there is someone whom I met who said the first time he got to Dubai, he was given something. When he was receiving it, then the guy who was there was a Muslim. He said, no, only Allah. We do that only to Allah.
Yeah.
So in some cultures,
you are, even in the Valley cultures, I think one of our kubvunza asakari kuti uda ndisimuke nditambere zvauri kuombera. So I'm just trying to see good. Right now we are both Zimbabweans, but we are talking about two different cultures. One in Ombera, one is within the same country. So are certain things not supposed to be probably outdated or something? Because especially when we cannot explain why we do them.
Yeah, I think we can communicate them to them for their knowledge as a heritage of knowledge.
But a heritage is something that I have a reason.
Yeah, we now have to give them even the reasons. To say, in our culture, the reason why we do this is for this purpose.
Okay.
Like, I remember I once did a research when I was back in Africa about some of the cultural practices, and I even went to see some traditional healers, and I would talk to them and ask questions. I was preparing for a church service, but I wanted to be well informed so that those that came from the world who were following the traditional healers will know that where they have come, we have a faith that is in place and that addresses all the issues about life, which so that they will not find other issues that they will go and find solutions out there. So with our kids, we have to make researches on why our culture, we do that, and we give it to them as a heritage of knowledge. Like I said, when you go back to with them back home and they see people doing it, they must not laugh. They must just know, oh, this is what Dad was talking about. Even if they fail to do it, at times, because they are seeing everyone doing it and they've got the information about it, they will just try and do it to the best of the... But don't make it a law that you have to do it here everywhere you go. Those are some of the things that you can do just for equipping them with knowledge. Because at the same, as we are also grooming them in Australia, we don't want them to lose their identity. Because it's one other thing that is causing depression to many kids. There is a child who said to me, Pastor, I can't even speak one word from my language. And that kid was now about 17, I think. And that she was getting depressed by that fact that I can't speak. It led into depression. Why? Because when she was playing out there, she had Chinese kids, she had Indians who were speaking their languages. So as much as we don't want to put a burden on our kids, let's have them know them so that
their heritage.
Yeah,
they make a choice whether they want to.
They make a choice.
All right.
And like when they play, I've got my kids play with Kenyans, Botswanas, and Botswana. I mean, Ethiopians. We've got some Nigerians now whom they play with. I was actually thinking to myself that in our next play date, I want to ask every parent to tell their children one word which they use for one meal that we all use, like relish. What do you call relish in your language? That will help our kids to appreciate that you can say your language, you can say your language, you can say your language, and you're still special.
All right.
So even with that societal etiquette, because especially Melbourne, it's a blend of different people. If we don't train our kids to appreciate what they have, they'll always desire the neighbor's pot. Yeah.
Okay. So we spoke about the situational etiquette at school, in public, and now we want to see at home. Do you still probably want kuti madzoka kubasa mwana wopfugama kuti maswera sei daddy and so forth? Ndo zvatinotarisira, that's our culture.
Yeah.
Is that still practical? Do you still want that? But why am I saying that? It's because I'm feeling like that we might not be good parents compared to what our parents used to do. But there are certain things that I'm proud of as a parent. For example, if I go out, if I fly and go somewhere, and I'm coming back that evening, or I know one thing that I know is even if my flight delays, all my 3 kids will be waiting for me. They don't sleep before I come. Not because it's a rule, but because they want to see me. They have stories to share with me. But when we grew up, motikari yababa kupinda pa Gota, nyango wangu wachitamba hapo unongo watoita ngo watokotsira. Machira you don't want, awusikuda kuswedera padhuze navo pavari apa. Awusikuda kuenda ikoko. Tinoona bhora sometimes kana ma teams edu achitamba bhora, my kids support different teams. Ndoona kuti vamutsa na 3 makuseni kuti amukaiti gara vakomana titese. Tuone bhora ma team edu they are playing against each other, which is something that we never used to do with our parents. And I'm very proud of that. Kuti I'm managing kuti vanangu vanondimirira kana kuti vanonditsvaga kuti ko muri papi. If I'm late, my one of my kids andofona. Muri kupi. You get it?
Yeah.
Which is something that you would never do with our parents. Baba ndiani? Di baba. Chara chikomo chinoera kusvikwi. How do we deal with situational etiquette at home?
Yeah, I think with situational etiquette at home, the key word is relationship. Whatever grooming that you have to do, because with grooming, the problem with grooming is it involves removing and putting, which is not something that is easy. No one wants to let go, and no one wants to receive what they don't want.
Yep.
So it makes grooming a bit difficult without relationship. So the most important thing, the key thing in everything, like you are mentioning, that relationship with those boys, because of the relationship you have with them, you find they have a respect that they give to you in their way based on the relationship. And as a father, you can tell them, you know what, as we grew up, this is what our fathers used to do. And they can laugh, say, that was not fair.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with us here, relationship is key. There are people of our age who are struggling to relate to their fathers today.
Yeah. Because
their parenting was transactional. Do what I've said, and that's it.
That's it.
I say, you do. Those were the terms of the transaction. So with us, we can't afford transactional relationships because we will lose them.
Yeah.
We will lose them. So I wouldn't want my kids to kneel down when I come from work. But with mine, I taught them that when you see an elderly person and you are greeting them, you can just, for them, they do it to other people, but they never do it to us.
Me, yeah.
And they don't do it to everyone else. They do it to Zimbabweans. When we meet Kenyans, I notice when we meet other nationals,
they don't.
They know that the crew did no problem.
All right.
So that's the thing.
All right. No, thank you so much, Pastor. This was part 2 of grooming etiquette or manners development for boys. If you have any contribution to this topic, if you have anything that you feel like we have left out and you want us to talk about, Pastor is still around. We can always bring him here. But I want to appreciate you so much, Pastor. Thank you so much for contributing to 3 episodes of this program. May you be blessed and may you be increased. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Baba. It's a pleasure to be here. The time that you invest in grooming and investing in nurturing our boys, it's something that we should not look down upon. And please don't get tired. We encourage you and the team behind the scenes to keep doing the work that you're doing.
Yeah, we'll soldier on. I heard you speaking about a research that you did with a traditional healer. I have episodes that I did with a traditional healer. Ladies and gentlemen, look out for those episodes. Thank you so much, Pastor. Have a wonderful day. Our viewers and our listeners, from what I've learned from the pastor, have a wonderful day. Any contributions that you feel like you need to contribute on this program, make sure you bring them in the comment section, or you can come through in other various social media platforms where we broadcast this episode. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Let's meet again next week. Thank you.
I am human, did not feel our pain. Kutendere murume, I see motion. I see motion. Kutenda kafa mukota. Kutendere murume, dinendefu, I see motion.